going?
Going good, going good. Welcome to the Chargers Central podcast. This is, I believe, episode 4. Today we're going to be doing a quick rundown of what happened last week against the Titans, and then a preview of week 3, and then fantasy football, lineup advice, and all that stuff. So let's get started with last week's loss to the Titans. Jason, if you want to get started on that.
Yeah, it's wow, it was another tough one. Came down to overtime. Felt like it shouldn't have even got into that. We yeah, it's tough because our defense had some good moments. We had some sacks. You know, Joey Bosa had 2 sacks. Thule played great. We got some pressure on Tannehill, but he was still beating us deep. Our corners did not do their job. Allowing a 70-yard pass to Treylon Burks. There was another 40-something yard pass. But yeah, you cannot let Tannehill beat you like that. We did a pretty good job against Derrick Henry. He didn't run wild over us. Kind of like we had a problem stopping him last year when we still beat them, but he wasn't as big of an issue. It was Tannehill that beat us with the deep pass, and you don't expect that.
Yeah, no, I agree. I mean, last week I said, we should have Tannehill beat us. If anyone's going to beat us, it should be Tannehill and slow down Derrick Henry. I just didn't expect him to, throw for over 200 yards. And, they contained DeAndre Hopkins. I think I was surprised to see that. And the Treylon Burks, 70-yard reception is just unacceptable. It shouldn't have happened. And that kind of was the starter of, the Titans' momentum and Chargers' downfall. But like you said, Bosa had the 2 sacks. Thule played very well. I believe he had a sack as well. And the first half, we were playing phenomenally well. And, I had people texting and saying, what do you think about the Chargers defense, this and that? And I said, if they play well like this, the defense, any team, no matter who it is, it's going to be very tough to stop the Chargers in the playoffs. But then second half came, and they just fell apart, like always. Fourth quarter, always, they fall apart. And, a lot of talk about who is to blame for this loss. It's not just one person. I wouldn't say it's one person. I would say it's, a combination of Brandon Staley, the defensive coordinator, the defense itself. They did not play well the second half. And again, you can't have Ryan Tannehill become a hero. You can't have him look like Peyton Manning. And that's exactly what the Chargers did. It's just it's an unfortunate loss. I mean, that was a game that I believe a lot of people had as a win for the Chargers. So losing that is tough. Now you got to somehow bounce back from that. And, I'm a huge fan of Justin Herbert, but I would put him in that category of, having some type of blame for the loss. In overtime, he didn't play well at all. I thought when we got the coin toss and we received, we were going to win that game. That was it. And I don't know what happened on that third down play. Mike Williams was saying slow down, stop, or, don't snap the ball. And Herbert snaps it. And I don't know. It was just a completely confusing play. And, I'm hoping to see a bounce back from Herbert. I think we'll see that. There was a lot of talk about, Staley and is his job going to be safe? And after really thinking about it, I don't think he will be fired because, they don't want to fire him and pay him, right? Because if you fire him now, you're going to still have to pay him. I don't think they want to do that. So, I know Colin Coward, I think, he was talking about, how the Chargers wanted to bring in Brandon Staley and take him away from Sean McVay. which was an interesting perspective. I didn't know that was the case. I'm not sure if it is, but it was an interesting perspective that they want to kind of weaken the Rams and take Staley from them. That was the whole purpose of bringing Brandon Staley as a head coach. But you had Brian DeBall right there. Then you had Sean Payton. And I know the Broncos haven't won a game yet, but I think Sean Payton would have done a better job with this team than he is with the Broncos. Um, there were options. There were better options for a head coaching job. I think Eric Bieniemy was a candidate at the time as well, and they just passed up on all of them and got Staley, which hasn't worked out so far. So yeah, that's just my thoughts about the game. I think there's a lot of blame to go around. But Chargers fans, I feel like they're just sick and tired of losing in the fourth, losing in overtime. And it's interesting how the Titans defense, I noticed this, they kind of in the overtime started blitzing what the Dolphins did in week one during the fourth quarter. Then the Titans defense starts blitzing. So when that blitz hits, they got to get the pass off very quickly, and they weren't able to. And just one more point, Joshua Kelly, he had 13 carries, 39 yards. Last week, I said this is going to be a tough matchup for him. Jamal Williams had 2.8 yards per rush, and Kelly had 3. Sunday has to be the game where Kelly has a big game. 13 carries is a lot of carries to get good yardage. I would say he should get about 100 yards. We saw DeAndre Swift destroy that Vikings rush defense last Thursday. So Joshua Kelly has to show up this week. And I know a lot of people who picked him up last week on fantasy football, they've dropped him. And I'm like, guys, slow your roll. He's still the RB1 for the Chargers. It was just a very tough defense. So he's got to prove himself this week. And, I don't think Isaiah Spiller will get a big role. It was surprising to see Elijah Dotson get a lot of, not a lot, but was still on the field a good amount more than Spiller. The one thing I will add is that Austin Eckler being out, I know that Titans had injuries as well, but Eckler being out hurt the team a lot because there were some plays where, the 3rd and 4, I believe, 3rd and short, and Herbert went shotgun to Elijah Dotson, and Dotson couldn't get the first. And then he handed it off to Dotson for a run on another 3rd down, and he couldn't get the first. So those were plays where Eckler would have, done a better job, I think. And Dotson has time. He has time to improve and all of that. But they're going to miss Austin Eckler. As long as he's out, they're going to miss him because you don't have a running back who can get yards after the catch. And Joshua Kelly last week, I know that he had only one target, and it was in the very beginning, and he fumbled the ball. I mean, he didn't fumble. He couldn't catch it. I think they just lost faith in him after that and said, okay, let's just have you carry the ball and have somebody else be a receiving back. But, yeah, I don't think Kelly's going to be the receiving back anytime soon. But I do think that he'll get 13, 15 carries in week 3, and he should, pass 100 yards or get a touchdown, whichever, and he'll be fantasy relevant in week 3.
Yeah, I agree. I have Kelly in a few leagues. I'm definitely starting him this week. But one quick point about the Titans game. Our O-line needs to play better. Outside of Rashawn Slater, they all allowed pressures. They allowed some sacks on Herbert. Even before the blitz at the end of the game, and the blitz worked again. They sacked Herbert at the end of the game. But even before that, they got a few sacks, and yeah, we were excited about the O-line this season, being healthy, and they haven't done their job yet either.
Yeah, no, I agree. I think Rashawn Slater is a very important piece. I think, I said earlier this week that he's arguably one of the, if not the most important piece of this team. But the rest of the guys need to step up. It can't be a one-man show, especially with an offensive line. And the Vikings rush defense is not that great. So hopefully, Herbert has more time to throw, But when that blitz comes, you got to let that ball loose. And they haven't done a good job of that so far. Just either waiting too long or the blitz comes and then he just throws it out. Do some screen plays or stuff like that, like wide receiver screens or the slip screen to the running back, something like that, but they haven't. And I think that should change if they want to win, because we're likely going to see another close game week 3, and it's going to be a shootout. I think it's going to be high scoring. Both offenses are high powered. But if the Vikings, let's say, take the Dolphins and Titans game plan and start blitzing at the end, you gotta know what to do. And you have receivers like Quentin Johnston, Joshua Palmer, who could be used for those wide receiver screenplays. I know that Eckler's out now and you don't really have a receiving back, but you did sign Jared Patterson to the practice squad. And he's more or less a receiving back. So something, just show something that, you can improve from the previous performances.
Yeah, we definitely need to get more receivers involved. This last game, we did get Mike Williams more involved. Keenan was amazing as always. And it seems like every game now he's catching a deep pass now. So that's great. But we need more guys involved. Quentin Johnston, only 10 snaps. Yeah, he needs more. He needs to be out on the field more. We need to see that speed. Even Darius Davis, get him involved. Josh Palmer, like you said. We have the weapons and they're not being used.
Yeah. Yeah, Darius Davis is another guy who you can use for wide receiver screens. Absolutely. I thought they were just using him for special teams, but he saw some snaps out there. So yeah, absolutely, Darius Davis as well. Just a quick note about Keenan Allen. He has been the most consistent player on this team easily this year so far. Last year, he was extremely consistent when he was playing. And just over the years, we had Rivers and Gates, and then, Gates was that go-to, and then Keenan Allen came on, and Gates got older, and Rivers started relying more on Keenan Allen, and he became that wide receiver 1. And then Herbert, Herbert came in, and he started relying on Keenan Allen. Now Keenan Allen's a veteran, and he's that go-to again. He's that wide receiver 1 that quarterbacks always tend to trust Keenan Allen. And it doesn't get said enough, I don't think. I think he's still underrated and underappreciated. You had fans saying we should trade him, this and that. Come on, you're not getting a better wide receiver than Keenan Allen right now. And I don't think there is any reason to trade him. He is one of the best wide receivers in the league and maybe tied for the best route runner with Devontae Adams. So that's ridiculous, in my opinion, to even consider trading Keenan Allen during the offseason. That was ridiculous. But I'm glad he's here. And yeah, like you said, he went off against the Titans. And Mike Williams was more involved. I think, against the Vikings, you should see more Quentin Johnston. I feel like they're trying to, get him involved in small increments, like having him in on the field a couple times first half and then a couple times second half, and then just slowly but surely getting him on the field more and more. This is a good opportunity, though, for Quentin Johnston to, be on the field more, get more opportunities, because the Vikings are a very good team. They have the three-headed monster, as I like to call it, Justin Jefferson, TJ Hawkinson, and Jordan Addison. So you need more production from these guys, not just Keenan Allen. Keenan Allen's going to do his thing every week, especially week 3 against the Vikings because of that Viking secondary and the DBs. You had Devontae Smith go for over 100 yards last week. He dominated. A.J. Brown didn't do that well, but A.J. Brown wasn't targeted as much as Devontae Smith, I don't think. So it should be a high-scoring game. And this is a perfect time for Quentin Johnston to be involved in the offense because you're going to have to throw the ball a lot. And to that point, I also want to add that Herbert needs to sling the ball more. First half, we saw that. He threw it deep to Keenan Allen, like you said, And I love seeing those types of plays. Keenan Allen used to be on the slot only. Now he's being used outside, and I love it. Because he can. He's capable of it. It's just people don't know because they haven't seen it. So he needs to sling the ball, not just in the first half, the whole game. And I feel like we said during the Twitter Spaces on Sunday, he needs to stop playing so afraid. Like, he needs to stop being afraid and stop playing so conservatively in the second half.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. You think about that time he checked the play out of a pass on 3rd and 4. To hand the ball off to Dotson, and he only got a yard or two. Herbert needs that confidence to get that first down. We know he can do it.
And I'm not sure why he doesn't have that confidence. He played so well, the year before, his rookie year, and then last year he played well. Besides a rib injury, this year he's fully healthy. Why is he hesitating? I don't get it. But the funny thing is, he's playing conservatively in the second half. The first half, it's a free-for-all. Second half, I don't know what it is. And the other team starts scoring and scoring and scoring. Our defense gets fatigued. And you had 4 chances in week 2 to get a 2 touchdown lead or a 10-point lead or whatever, put the game away. And it was a punt, I believe a field goal, and then a punt in the overtime. So there comes a point where, yes, again, I'm a big Justin Herbert fan, but you have to put some type of blame on him for that week 2 loss. I don't know if it's often, we praised Kellen.
Well, lost you there for a minute. Levon. There you are.
Oh, it froze?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. We praised Kellen Moore a lot during the offseason. And you had guys, on ESPN, can't remember who it was. He's a Cowboys fan, and he said he's not a fan of Kellen Moore. But, I'm not going to blame Kellen Moore at all, because I really like the way that this offense is playing. It's just you have to score more than 24 points against a team like the Titans. And you have to, this offense with Keenan Allen, Mike Williams, when Eckler comes back, Austin Eckler, Quentin Johnston, you've got to score at least 30 points per game. And if you do that, the defense will come. You're not going to have a Tyreek Hill performance every week from receivers. The defense will come. But you have to, as an offense, do your part and get at least 30 points. But yeah, I mean, against the Vikings, you can't have Alexander Mattison turn into LaDainian Tomlinson. You can't have Cam Akers become the hero if he plays. Because you already have a lot to deal with that offense. I'm very impressed with Kirk Cousins. They said he's going to choke against the Eagles, Thursday Night Football, primetime game, etc., etc. He played very well. I think he threw over 300 yards both games against the Buccaneers and the Eagles. And all the talk about is about Justin Jefferson on this offense. TJ Hawkinson, he's a big part of this offense, and I think hopefully Derwin James can contain him like he's done in the past with Darren Waller, Travis Kelce, for the most part. Travis Kelce, I think he can contain TJ Hawkinson, but that's going to open up Jordan Addison, and that's where I'm really afraid. Because Addison was passed on by the Chargers. He was picked 23rd, Quentin Johnston 21st. A lot of fans think that was a mistake and they should have picked Addison. But, the past is the past. You can't do anything now. He's very quick, Jordan Addison. From what I've seen, he's very quick. He will put up yards, as soon as he touches that ball. He had four catches last week, 71 yards, something like that, and a touchdown. And the touchdown was a deep throw from Kirk Cousins to Addison. So you can't make, these guys look like Hall of Fame players every time. Like Ryan Tannehill, for example, last week. You just can't. And it's going to be a very difficult game. I will be honest about this. It's going to be a very difficult game to win on Sunday. That offense is scary. Kirk Cousins is looking very good. And I know they haven't won a game, but the Chargers haven't either. So it's going to be a very tough game. I hope we come out on top. And if we do come out on top, that's going to open the floodgates, in my opinion. They'll go on a win streak. They will beat the Raiders at SoFi, then the bye week. So, if they win on Sunday, the best case scenario is 2-2 before the bye week. Not that bad. And then, you get the Cowboys, which is going to be a very tough game. But, and then you get the Chiefs. So you can't lose this game on Sunday. It's going to be very tough to win, but you can't lose. Because if you lose, that's going to set up possibly a 1-5 start by week 8.
Yeah.
And in the AFC West, you can't afford that.
Yeah, I think we're looking at another shootout, another game that comes down to the very end, and Chargers just have not done well in those situations as of late. So it's hard to have confidence, but like you said, this is a team we should beat. They're 0-2 as well. But the downside is they have to win too. Neither team wants to go down 0-3. So yeah.
I mean, both offenses are too good to be 0-2, let alone 0-3. I'll just put it that way.
Yeah.
I think a lot of people are overlooking the Vikings because of Kirk Cousins. Kirk Cousins is doing an incredible job this year. And against a defense like ours, like the way that we're playing currently, Titans second half and Dolphins the whole game, Kirk Cousins can easily go over 300 yards on Sunday again. And, you can't. The other thing is not just the defense, the offense. You can't have Herbert playing conservatively against a team like the Vikings. He has to sling the ball because if you go down 2 scores, it's going to be too late. Kirk Cousins, he's a seasoned veteran. So he knows what to do in those situations, and they will run the ball with Alexander Madison, Cam Akers. They have the guys now to, kill the clock. You cannot go down 10 points, 2 scores, whatever the case might be. If you do that, you're going to lose. But, they've done a good job of staying close with the opponents, Dolphins, Titans, even going back to last year, the Jaguars. They did a good job of staying close the whole game. That's not my concern. My concern is the second half. What type of team are we going to see in the second half? Because right now I've lost all confidence when watching this team in the second half. We've had three collapses, I would say, in a row from Jacksonville, Miami, Tennessee. So what do we see in the second half is, I think, going to be key to winning on Sunday.
Yeah. You could even go back to the Denver game. We all thought that was a win, and then Mike Williams gets hurt, and that changed the whole course of the playoffs for us. But the guys all have to know. Staley knows, the players know that the pressure is on them right now, and you got to perform. You just got to hope Herbert knows he's got to sling it this game, and we're going to need as many points as we can get. Don't let off the gas at all. And like you said about Cousins, I believe he's the quarterback number 1 in fantasy right now.
Yeah.
Surprising. Yeah. Because you could get him in the late rounds, but he's got that ability. He's got that talent, and he has the weapons. He has the weapons there.
Yeah. And KJ Osborne as well.
Yeah.
Because he knows how to find his. He knows how to get open in the end zone.
Yeah.
So.
And the debate of Quentin Johnson versus Addison. Yeah, Addison's had a great start. He's looks like he's a good route runner and fast, like you said. But we still haven't seen what Johnston can do yet.
Right.
I mean, I've seen it in training camp. It's impressive, but we have to see it on the field. And
I totally agree.
Yeah,
I totally agree. I think the Chargers just love these 6'3", 200-some pounds wide receivers, and that's why they brought Quentin Johnston, and it will pay off in the future. Right now, you have Mike Williams, So I think that's kind of why fans are confused as to why they drafted Quentin Johnston, because you already have a Mike Williams. You brought basically Mike Williams 2.0, a younger version. And you could have used that speed in Jordan Addison. But let me just say that Darius Davis, he is extremely fast. So, he could have that Addison, Jalen Waddle type of role in the future. And, you have um, Johnston, Davis, Palmer, and Keenan Allen. Let's say Mike Williams leaves in the offseason, for example. So that's a good replacement for Mike Williams. And I think, yes, the team is focusing on now, but also the future, which is good. So that we don't, this year, we don't make it, let's say, to the Super Bowl or whatever the goal is for the team. And then next year you have Bosa, Mac, all these guys just walk. So it's good that they're focusing on the future. And,
Yeah.
I think what the defense needs to do this week, the defense is playing conservatively too, if you've noticed. Like, they don't blitz really. And that's kind of been an issue with most Chargers defensive coordinators, I would say. But they should put Thule on the same side as Bosa, line them up together, or Mac, whoever, and go at the offensive line, challenge that offensive line.
They did that on one of Bosa's sacks. They were lined
Right.
up. Yeah.
Right, and it worked. So
Yeah.
I don't know why they don't try that more. Thule's young. It's not like he's going to get tired.
Yeah.
So they have to try more. And Sebastian Joseph Day, again, I mean, I didn't see much in week 2. He seemed better with the Rams than he does with the Chargers. So I think he has to step up and, do something. I think Kenneth Murray did a great job in the first half, and we didn't hear much in the second half from him. But he has to step up and play well again in week 3 because Eric Kendricks is likely out. He hasn't practiced. Eckler hasn't practiced. So nothing's really changed from last week. I guess it's newsworthy to say that Justin Herbert, has said that the team and himself have confidence in Brandon Staley. So that tells you that kind of, he's not going anywhere anytime soon. Although he said team, we know that Austin Eckler kind of hit him with the, the coaching hasn't always been perfect type of comment last week. But no, I don't think, the more I think of it, I think he should have been gone last year. After that Jacksonville loss, I think he should have been gone. Now, I don't want him to leave and still be paid while we're paying another coach. So that doesn't make sense either.
Yeah.
So just have him write it out. Hopefully he improves. But, I mean, it comes to a point where fans are done. They're done giving chances. If they lose week 3, I don't know. I don't know what's going to happen. I don't think Staley will be fired, but I think fans will lose their minds.
Yeah, and which version of Staley are we going to get to? I mean, his first year as head coach, he was extremely aggressive, going forward on 4th down, and it seemed like last year, it seemed like he listened to all the people, all the pundits on TV telling him it was too much, that he can't do that, and he went conservative, and I felt like it hurt the team, and so we haven't seen him be aggressive yet so far. What's he gonna do? If this game is coming down on the line, is he gonna? And it seemed like his aggressiveness gave Herbert more confidence. It's like, hey Herbert, go get this 4th down. We know you can do it, and that went away. So I feel he needs to bring that back. Give that edge to the team that it needs.
Yeah, no, I totally agree. I think, Herbert had a lot more confidence in his rookie year than he does now, which is very surprising. And it could be because of the play calling. Also, does Kellen Moore want to go for it on 4th downs? I don't know. There was a 4th and, I believe, 1 or a 4th and 2 opportunity last week, and they punted, which I was surprised to see. And then I think the 4th down, going for it on 4th down stopped when when it was like a 4th and 1 or 4th and 2, and it was a big game. I can't remember which one exactly, but they handed it off to Austin Eckler on the Chargers side of the field.
The Raiders game. The
Raiders game. Okay. And they handed it off to Eckler, and he couldn't get the first. And it turned right back around to the Raiders, and Raiders had possession on their side of the field.
Yeah.
So maybe they're more cautious, but it was working when you were throwing the ball. So I don't know why they would stop it completely.
Yeah.
At least just sprinkle it in here and there. They're not even doing that anymore.
Yeah,
So,
at least don't do it on your own side of the field. It was something crazy like the 20-yard line or something.
yeah.
Like, yeah, just don't do it in that situation.
Right. Yeah, no, I agree. They should go for it more, and they might have to. You're 0-2. I mean, it's not like you're 2-0 and everything's good. No, you're 0-2. The division itself, the Chiefs and Raiders are 1-1. Broncos are 0-2. There's still room for improvement. I think for the whole division, yes. None of them are really playing up to their level, but you got to win. That's the bottom line here. You got to win, and it has to start Sunday, because if you don't start Sunday, again, you get the Raiders, which should be a win, and then you get the Cowboys with that defense. I don't know if the Chargers are going to be able to do anything. And then you get the Chiefs in Kansas City.
Yeah, and the scary thing about the Chiefs is now they have Travis Kelce back. They signed what, Chris Jones.
Yeah.
So they have their team back. And you expect it may take a game or two for them to to really get going. So
I mean, they play the Chicago Bears Sunday.
Yeah,
that should be a win.
Should be a win
for the Chiefs.
Yeah.
So you got Chiefs going 2-1. Let's say you can't be 0-3.
Yeah,
you just can't. Looking at the Vikings division, they have the Lions, Packers, and Bears. Nowhere near as tough as the Chiefs, even the Raiders. Because I know Garoppolo isn't the greatest quarterback, but that defense is solid. Max Crosby, he's always going to be a threat to quarterbacks, and we've seen that firsthand. And Josh Jacobs, he struggled. He has struggled this year, surprisingly. But even as he's struggling, they won week 1, and got blown out week 2 against the Bills. But they play, I believe, Sunday Night Football against the Pittsburgh Steelers this week in Vegas. So all the more reason for the Chargers to win this week, because if they go 1-2, let's say the Chargers, and the Raiders likely will win against the Steelers. Steelers haven't shown much, unless miraculously Jaylen Warren becomes the running back 1 and Najee Harris takes a back seat. The run game will get going for them. Hypothetical. They haven't shown much, and Kenny Pickett hasn't looked that great. So I expect the Raiders to win, and they go 2-1, and if we win, we go 1-2, and then that sets up a week 4 matchup where we could be 2-2, tied at 2-2. So no, this week is very important. It's going to be very difficult. Last week we were I was more confident in them winning. This week I'm not as confident. Do I think they can win? Absolutely. I'm not going to lose faith in this team. They can win for sure. But when it comes down to, if it's a shootout, last 2 minutes of the game, if the Vikings blitz, or if Herbert's playing conservatively, you're not winning. So from the start to the finish, I think Herbert needs to sling the ball. Yes, get Joshua Kelly involved in the run game. Absolutely. Don't have Herbert throwing 60 passes. But he has to play more aggressive. And these little, 3-4 yard gains isn't going to cut it. With Phillip Rivers, we saw that a lot. But with Phillip Rivers, it worked. He knew how to fit the ball in, and they got yards after catch. It's not the same with Herbert, because Herbert's arm is stronger, right? Like Rivers had that sweet touch. Herbert just can sling that ball deep, and he has to show more of that. I think if they play the way that they did in the first half, let's say against the Titans, for the duration of the Vikings game, they have a good chance of winning.
Yeah,
This is a winnable game. It's just we haven't seen, the full potential of this team yet. And yeah, the Vikings haven't won a game, but they played the Buccaneers and Eagles. Um, the Buccaneers aren't as good as last year, but they're still solid. And the Eagles, they made it to the Super Bowl last year, so you can't count that out. So yeah, I mean, both teams are going to be hungry for a win. I think this is maybe the game of the week.
Yeah, it should be the
Owen,
highest scoring game, I would think.
right,
Yeah.
0-2, 0-2, both of them, but game of the week. It should be definitely high scoring. I'm not sure what the prop is for the over under on the scoring, but it should be high scoring. Yes, absolutely. I know that there was a prop where it was Kirk Cousins at 275 on Tuesday for yards thrown. I was like, okay, this is the time to take the over on that because it's going to go up, and it's gone up to like 291 now. So I think he gets 300, but it's just riskier 291 and 275. But yeah, I mean, Herbert, he hasn't gotten 300 besides last week. He hasn't thrown for many 300-yard games, which is surprising again because he's playing so conservatively.
Yeah.
And if it weren't for the first half performance, he wouldn't have reached 300 last week either. So, I hate to put blame on Herbert, but
it's a total team effort, and he can do better. Let's face it. You see some fans online getting upset that Herbert is getting some blame, but he deserves it. He's part of it.
Yeah. I mean, I totally agree. I mean, again, it's not because you had fans saying that it's his fault, period. And it's not Staley, it's not the coaching, it's not the defense, it's Herbert's. And I think that's what frustrated fans. But, he has some blame in it. And the offensive line has blame in it too. Because when that blitz comes, besides Rashawn Slater, because it always comes from the middle, the blitz. And they always get to Herbert. So they're avoiding Slater and they're going to the rest. They're attacking the rest. But one point I want to make about the defense, Morgan Fox, I believe last week had a sack.
Yeah.
We need to see more of him.
Yes.
And I think he has to be the guy that goes out there and, makes Kirk Cousins wish he never got out of bed that day. Makes the opposing quarterback, whoever it might be, wish that they didn't get out of bed. Because if Morgan Fox develops into that type of player, I think, this defense is going to be great. Yeah. And I don't know if we spoke about Asante Samuel Jr. yet, but he's going to be moved to the outside with Michael Davis and J.C. Jackson. And I think that is where he will shine. He's like a younger version of J.C. Jackson, kind of a raw talent, but still, he has the potential to be a J.C. Jackson, the New England version. I truly believe that. And I think fans are giving up on him too quickly. I think Joshua Taylor is going to get the star position this week, and Derwin James was saying he's excited to see him play in that position. And I think Joshua Taylor has deserved that spot. He should be given more of an opportunity, and let's see what he can do this week. But in my opinion, it's a perfect time for Asante Samuel Jr. to play the outside because you're going to need someone on Jordan Addison.
Yeah.
And Michael Davis didn't show much last week. J.C. Jackson was hurt, I think, for a good portion of that game. The question is going to be who's going to cover Justin Jefferson. And he's 6'1", so Michael Davis might match up better than J.C. Jackson. But either way, no matter what way you look at it, the receivers are going to have a big game for the Vikings. That it pains me to say that, but it's just true. Because you look at, Treylon Burks, like you said, had a 70-yard catch. Well, a 70-yard catch, that's going to turn into a touchdown if it's going to Osborne or Jefferson. That's a lot of points, fantasy football-wise. So definitely start your Vikings receivers. Start your Chargers receivers.
Yeah. Start everybody pretty much.
Right. Except for the defenses. If you have the defense.
Not the defense.
Right.
Yeah.
But no, I think Joshua Kelly too. people are giving up on him, but guys, like it's the Titans rush defense. They are very good.
Yeah.
Um, and I tried saying this like a couple times that he's gonna have a tough time against that defense. Now you get the Vikings. It's not as good of a defense, and you might see a repeat of the Dolphins game where he gets a long run, touchdown, whatever the case might be, and he's gonna get a heavier workload
Yeah.
because there's no Eckler. So
Yeah.
13 carries, yes, but they also threw the ball a lot in week 3 and week 2.
Yeah.
So
And if they get the red zone, you're hoping for a touchdown from Kelly. That's what I was hoping for last week, and we didn't see that. But
yeah, see, I don't know. I don't know if they'll give it to Kelly in the red zone. They have faith in Eckler in the red zone. That's why they're going to him.
yeah,
But you have Donald Parham, you have Gerald Everett, Mike Williams, Keenan Allen, all these guys. I don't know if they'll go to Kelly because you have so many options,
yeah,
right? However, if they watch film and if they see that DeAndre Swift dominated in the red zone in week 2, it's very possible it's the ball in the red zone. Um, I would more so start Kelly because of the volume.
yeah,
And you never know. They might have used him more during practice as a receiving back, and he might get more targets in week 3, which he should. I mean, one target isn't going to prove anything. Everybody misses a target. So he should get more of an opportunity receiving wise, but I don't know. I don't know how that running back room looks right now. I know a lot of fans want to see Isaiah Spiller.
yeah,
Um, he got 6% of the snaps in week 2. So
yeah, yeah. I definitely want to see what he can do in real game action. We saw him break off that long, like 70 something yard run in the preseason. That got called back for a penalty, but uh, it looks like he has the physical tools, the speed, the vision. He can kind of make some shifty moves like Eckler. So I think people just want to see him given the chance.
yeah,
Just you know,
yeah,
uh,
no, I agree. I mean, what do you have to lose right now?
yeah,
Try out different stuff because if you don't, later in the season, it's not going to make sense to try that out because you're going to be fighting for a playoff spot. Now's the time.
yeah,
So I don't know why they're not giving Spiller the opportunity. But I'm a big fan of Spiller. I'm a big fan of Elijah Dotson. I think Dotson should still be given the opportunity. Um, but at the same time, using 3 running backs, I don't know how that's going to work. How they split that work. But we saw, Dotson in the receiving back role kind of last week. He was the only running back, I believe, that caught a pass. Um, but yeah, I mean, Spiller should be given the opportunity and more than 6% of the snaps, Um, but as of right now, there hasn't been any reports that Spiller will see an increased workload or anything really from Spiller. So you just have to assume Joshua Kelly's the running back 1 and he will, get 15 carries or whatever the case might be, at least 10 to 15.
yeah, yeah. And what are you doing if you're a Quentin Johnston owner in fantasy? It's like, do you hold on to the guy because he has so much potential, but who knows when we're going to actually see it on the field? Is it a whole lost year? Who knows? It's a crapshoot.
Yeah. So I'm in one dynasty league, 2 redraft. Redraft, I did not touch him. And Charger fans people in my league who know that I'm a Chargers fan were saying, why aren't you taking Johnson and stuff like that? I'm like, guys, he's not going to play much this year. Like from the training camp, there were reports that Joshua Palmer is the wide receiver 3. So that tells me, unless there's an injury to Mike Williams or whatever the case might be, he's not going to play much. In a dynasty league, I have Johnston. I'm going to keep him, obviously, because he's so young and has so much potential. But in a redraft league, if you have a guy like, I don't know, Romeo Dobbs, for example, I would probably pick him up because Johnston's not going to get enough volume this year unless there's an injury to be relevant in fantasy. Um, I'm I made a mistake, honestly, taking Johnston in the Dynasty League because there were Jordan Addison there.
Uh,
And I was trying to choose between the two. I was like, you know what, I'm a Chargers fan. I can't not take Johnson. So I took him. But now I'm like, shoot, I should have taken Addison. But I think, in the future it's gonna pay off, that Johnson pick. Because once his contract is up, he's gone. I don't think the team resigns him just because there are so many receivers now that we have, and
yeah,
there's a reason why we drafted Johnston to be that replacement for Mike Williams. And they don't want to pay Mike Williams so much, plus pay Keenan Allen.
yeah,
So, and I don't think it's right for Keenan Allen to take a pay cut because he's playing so well and at such a high level. Just because he's 31 doesn't mean that he should take a pay cut.
yeah,
He right now, we're talking about rankings. Right now, he's number 5 in wide
yeah.
receiver category.
Yeah, I have him in a few of my leagues, and I'm so happy, because you could get him at a good spot, because he is underrated, like you said, So
Yeah,
yeah, I love it, man.
yeah, I have him everywhere. Everywhere that I did a draft or whatever, the best ball, whatever the case might be, I have Keenan Allen everywhere. And Herbert. It's just, Herbert needs to stop playing conservatively. But I would start every Chargers player you've got,
Yeah,
unless it's, Palmer. Palmer, he, you know, had a catch in the red zone. It got called back. Um, I wouldn't I wouldn't trust Palmer,
no,
just because the volume isn't there.
yeah,
I wouldn't trust Johnston. If you have Dotson, Spiller, etc. in a redraft league, I would reconsider that. And definitely don't start them because there's not enough volume for them. And everybody else, Herbert, Keenan Allen, Mike Will, Joshua Kelly, I would start.
yeah, definitely.
Um,
Yeah, Everett's maybe on the borderline, right? You know, would you start Gerald Everett? Oh, sorry, you there you are.
oh, but you were saying about Everett.
Yeah, how do you feel about him? He's kind of on the borderline for me. Would you start him?
So, in the leagues that I'm in, personally, one of them I traded him and got Laporta, the
Uh,
Lions tight end, and that was a dynasty league, so I somehow got him. The guy was a Chargers fan, so he had to accept, I guess. And then I'm in 2 redraft leagues. One of them I have Everett, but I also have Darren Waller and Sam Laporta. So I would not start Everett. But if you're in a league that, let's say, you know, Travis Kelsey, Mark Andrews, etc., don't play, I would start Everett this week, definitely. I'm not sure if any of those big tight ends have any injuries.
no,
Uh,
I have both
no,
those guys. They were good last week. Yeah, they
yeah,
definitely put up some points for me. So
yeah. I think the problem with Everett is it's not that he is not a good fantasy tight end. It's that he doesn't get enough targets.
yeah,
Because you have guys like Mike Will and Keenan Allen. That's why it's hard to find, you know, targets for Everett. Um, and in the red zone, it sucks because for Everett, it sucks because Donald Parham's 6'8",
yeah,
right?
yeah,
So it's kind of, he still is a target in the red zone. It's just he has not caught a touchdown for some time. Um,
yeah. He,
so there are better options, is what I would say. There are better options. But if if it's a hail Mary type situation, I'd start him.
yeah, yeah, definitely. Yeah, he had a couple of those catches where he was breaking tackles. You love to see it.
Yeah.
Yeah, but and I know in a redraft league, in one of my 6 leagues, I had Quentin Johnston, and I dropped him this week for Josh Reynolds from Detroit, because he's going to make more of an impact.
Yeah. Reynolds has been solid, and they play the Falcons this week. So,
Yeah,
and Amon-Ra St. Brown, who I'm a huge fan of, he is on the injury report.
yeah,
So Reynolds might be a huge pickup this week.
yeah,
And yeah, I mean David Montgomery, I I did a crazy trade last week. It was Saquon, Montgomery, and Brees Hall for Austin Eckler and Nico Collins.
Yeah.
And, I gave up a lot, so I hope Eckler plays. But I'm pretty good in that league. Like, I'm in a good situation in that league.
No,
Who could carry me, until Eckler comes back.
yeah, that I think that's going to turn out to be a great trade. I actually, in one of my leagues, I actually picked up Nico Collins. He was on the waiver wire,
Oh,
and
wow.
somehow I got him, and yeah, he's going to fit nicely into my flex position. Yeah, so
Yeah, they played Jacksonville this week. I have Nico Collins and Tank Dell in one of my leagues. I don't know how well that's going to work out, but they both went off last week. So I said, okay, why not try it? But yeah, I picked him up in another league before the season started. I was surprised he didn't go draft. He wasn't drafted. So I picked him up off waivers, and then in my dynasty league, I'm trying to trade for him now. But I just don't know who to offer. So that's a situation I'm in with Nico Collins. But yeah,
yeah,
I think Collins is a great receiver. And we'll see. I mean, they play Jacksonville, and the Jacksonville hasn't looked that great this year. They didn't do well against the Chiefs, which you would have thought it would be a shootout type game, but they only put up 9 points, and the Chiefs only put up 17.
yeah,
And then week 1 they won, and Calvin really went off. But you know, fantasy football is a very unpredictable. It's maybe the most unpredictable thing there is. Um, like that Rams wide receiver Puka Nakua or something like that.
yeah, Nakua, yeah,
Who would have thought this guy was going to be wide receiver 1
yeah,
after 2 weeks? So or the Nick Chubb injury.
yeah.
I mean, he's one of my favorite players in the league.
Me too.
And just a
Yeah,
horrible injury. So, prayers to him. And, Jerome Ford gets the nod for RB1 work. Again, Ford's in the same position as Kelly last week. He plays the Titans. So I wouldn't expect much from Ford or that whole Browns offense because, Deshaun Watson, he's just, I don't know. Like, I don't know what state of mind he's in right now. I'm just not a fan of Deshaun Watson. I've never been really a fan.
yeah,
Um, he's always been overrated to me. So I don't
yeah.
think that Brown's offense is going to get much going.
Yeah, and ever since the allegations, he hasn't been the same. And so many women, it could be karma, just people like Watson, Tyreek Hill, not not good people, and
Yeah,
uh, people play fantasy different ways. I stay away from guys like that.
I completely agree with you.
Yeah,
I completely agree. I mean, Alvin Kamara too. People were taking him late. Oh, he's going to come back from suspension. This, that. I'm like, guys, do you realize these allegations that he's had? And like Eli Apple, for example, I know you can't pick him up unless you're, individual defensive players, etc. But Eli Apple, even if you know, even if one of those allegations are true, it's horrible, no matter what way you look at it.
yeah,
So I agree. I can't with a good conscience take any of those guys.
yeah.
You're completely right.
Yeah.
Just yeah,
But
but
on that note, Levon, I gotta get going.
all right.
Um, but be sure to like and subscribe, and
Let's hope for the win this week.
yeah, go Chargers.
Yeah. All right. See you guys next week.
All right, see you.